Have you ever felt a pause in your chest for no clear reason, as if something unseen just brushed against your awareness? A moment where your mind was quiet, yet your emotions felt alert, almost as if they were listening. This is not coincidence, and it is not imagination. There are moments when the psyche recognizes something before logic has time to intervene, before words form, before decisions are made, before denial steps in. And when that recognition happens, it creates pressure, not chaos, but urgency. The kind of urgency that does not shout, but persists. This is where the message begins, not with noise, not with dramatic gestures, but with a subtle inner shift that refuses to be ignored. Because when a connection has reached beyond surface emotion and touched the deeper layers of the self, it leaves an imprint. And imprints do not fade quietly. They resurface in silence. They speak through intuition. They announce themselves through restlessness, sudden clarity, or an unexplainable sense that something unfinished is moving closer to awareness. So if you felt drawn here, if something in you leaned in rather than scrolled past, understand this. Urgency is not always about time. Sometimes it is about truth finally finding a voice. The unconscious communicates before words ever do, because the deepest parts of a person are not designed to wait for logic or permission. Long before someone decides what to say, or whether to say anything at all, their inner world has already reacted. Feelings arise faster than thoughts. Emotional recognition happens instantly, without language, without planning, and without control. This is why people often feel something before they understand it. The body tightens, the heart shifts, attention changes, and only later does the mind try to explain what happened. When someone matters deeply, the unconscious registers that connection as significant immediately. It stores the emotional imprint, not as a memory, but as a pattern. That pattern influences behavior, reactions, and inner states even when the person believes they have moved on. This is why someone can say, "I'm fine," while feeling unsettled, restless, or distracted. The unconscious is still active, still responding, still processing something that was never fully expressed or resolved. Words belong to the conscious mind. They are filtered, edited, and shaped by fear, pride, timing, and social rules. The unconscious does not care about these things. It speaks through symbols, impulses, dreams, emotional waves, sudden thoughts, and intuition. It shows itself in what someone cannot stop thinking about, in what triggers them unexpectedly, and in what returns when everything else is quiet. Silence in this sense is not emptiness. It is often the loudest signal that something deeper is at work. This is also why people give mixed signals without realizing it. They may act distant, yet feel drawn. They may avoid contact, yet constantly sense the other person's presence in their inner life. The conscious mind tries to protect the self by staying controlled, while the unconscious keeps pulling attention back to what feels meaningful. This inner conflict creates tension, and tension always looks for release. If it cannot come out through words, it comes out through energy, behavior, or emotional shifts. Intuition is one of the ways the unconscious communicates between people. When two individuals have connected on a deep psychological level, that connection does not simply disappear when communication stops. The unconscious continues to respond. This can create a sense of knowing, a feeling that something is happening beneath the surface, even without evidence. It is not supernatural, it is psychological resonance. The mind recognizes familiar emotional patterns and responds to them automatically. Urgency arises when the unconscious has been ignored for too long. When feelings are suppressed, they do not weaken, they intensify. What is avoided internally begins to press for awareness. This pressure can show up as sudden memories, emotional discomfort, or an inability to fully focus on the present. The unconscious is not trying to create drama. It is trying to restore balance by bringing attention back to what was left unfinished. Understanding this shifts how silence is interpreted. Silence does not always mean lack of feeling. Often, it means the feeling is too complex, too threatening, or too overwhelming for the conscious mind to handle directly. The unconscious has already spoken. It spoke the moment the connection was formed, the moment it recognized something familiar, something important, something that altered the inner landscape, and it continues to speak quietly, persistently, through every uninvited thought, every emotional echo, every moment where the heart reacts before the mind can explain why emotional bonds do not dissolve just because silence appears, because connection is not maintained by constant interaction, but by meaning. When two people form a bond that reaches beyond surface attraction, it settles into the deeper layers of the psyche. From there, it is no longer dependent on messages, presence, or reassurance. It exists as an inner reference point, something the mind returns to when it searches for familiarity, safety, or emotional truth. Silence may interrupt communication, but it does not erase what has already been psychologically integrated. When a person truly matters, their absence becomes noticeable in subtle ways. The mind compares experiences without realizing it. New interactions feel slightly off, moments of joy feel incomplete, and certain thoughts automatically lead back to the same person. This happens because emotional bonds shape expectation. Once the psyche has adjusted itself around someone, removing them creates an internal imbalance. The person may tell themselves they are fine, but the unconscious notices the gap and keeps drawing attention to it. Silence often happens not because the bond is weak, but because it is strong. Strong emotional ties bring vulnerability, and vulnerability threatens the carefully constructed sense of control many people rely on. Instead of facing that discomfort, the conscious mind chooses distance. Yet distance is only a physical or behavioral strategy. Internally, the bond continues to function. Feelings do not require permission to exist. They simply do. This is why time alone does not guarantee emotional release. Time helps only when feelings are acknowledged and processed. When they are avoided, time can actually deepen the attachment. The mind keeps circling the same unresolved emotions, replaying moments, reinterpreting conversations, and imagining alternate outcomes. Each mental return strengthens the bond rather than weakens it. Silence becomes the space where these repetitions happen most intensely. The unconscious does not understand endings the way the conscious mind does. It does not respond to declarations like, "It's over" or "I've moved on." It responds to emotional truth. If something felt meaningful, safe, or deeply stimulating, the unconscious preserves it. That preservation shows up as lingering emotional responses even when the person believes they are done. A name, a place, or a familiar phrase can suddenly trigger a wave of feeling, not because the bond is still chosen, but because it was never fully released. This also explains why people sometimes feel the other person's presence during periods of silence, not literally, but emotionally. There is a sense of being thought about, remembered, or emotionally connected despite no contact. This comes from shared emotional imprints. When two people have affected each other deeply, their inner worlds remain slightly attuned. Silence removes noise, making that awareness more noticeable rather than less. Understanding this changes the meaning of absence. Absence does not automatically equal detachment. In many cases, it is a pause filled with internal activity. Thoughts are forming, feelings are being wrestled with, resistance is happening alongside longing. The bond remains active beneath the surface, quietly influencing choices, moods, and perceptions, waiting not for words, but for recognition. Suppressed feelings grow louder in indirect ways because emotion is not something the psyche can permanently lock away. When a feeling is pushed down instead of expressed, it does not disappear. It changes form. The mind may succeed in avoiding conscious acknowledgement for a while, but the emotional energy still seeks movement. What is not allowed to surface directly begins to leak out through unexpected channels, often confusing the person experiencing it. One of the first ways suppressed feelings show themselves is through emotional inconsistency. A person may feel calm one moment and irritated or restless the next, without a clear external reason. Small events trigger disproportionate reactions. Minor comments feel heavy. Silence feels louder than it should. These reactions are not about the present moment alone. They are echoes of emotions that were never given space to be understood. Suppression creates pressure, and pressure demands release. Thought patterns also reveal what has been buried. The mind returns again and again to the same person, memory, or situation, even when the individual consciously tries to stop it. This repetition is not weakness. It is the psyche's attempt to resolve what remains unresolved. Avoidance keeps the loop active. The more someone insists they are unaffected, the more the unconscious insists on being heard. This is why forced detachment often feels exhausting. It requires constant mental effort to hold emotions down. The body often speaks before the mind catches up. Suppressed feelings can show up as tension, shallow breathing, fatigue, or a sense of heaviness with no obvious cause. The nervous system responds to emotional suppression as if something is wrong, because from its perspective, something is. Emotion is meant to move through awareness, not be trapped inside it. When it is trapped, the body carries the burden. This is not imagined. It is the physical expression of unresolved inner conflict. Dreams are another indirect outlet. When the conscious mind sleeps, its defenses weaken and the suppressed material rises. People appear in dreams who are supposedly forgotten. Conversations resume. Emotions intensify. These dreams often feel vivid or emotionally charged because they are not filtered by logic or self-control. The unconscious takes advantage of this openness to continue its work. It is not trying to confuse. It is trying to integrate what was denied. Suppression also affects behavior toward others. Someone may become distant, overly busy, or emotionally unavailable without understanding why. Or they may seek distraction through work, social activity, or new relationships, only to find no lasting satisfaction. These behaviors are attempts to outrun an inner truth. But emotional truth is persistent. It follows quietly, shaping choices and reactions from behind the scenes. What makes suppressed feelings feel urgent over time is that they accumulate. Each avoided emotion adds to the weight. Each unspoken truth strengthens the internal tension. Eventually, the indirect signals become harder to ignore. The mind may experience a sudden emotional release, a moment of clarity, or an unexpected longing that feels out of proportion to the present. This is not regression. It is the psyche finally demanding attention. Understanding this reveals why indirect signals should not be dismissed. They are not random. They are messages from the deeper self, asking for honesty, awareness, and emotional completion. What is faced gently can be integrated. What is suppressed will always find a way to be felt, growing louder until it is finally acknowledged. Intuition is the psyche recognizing unfinished emotional business, not something mystical or imagined, but a natural psychological response to unresolved connection. When an experience has not been fully processed, the mind does not simply close the file and move on. Instead, it keeps that experience active in the background, monitoring it, returning to it, and responding to related cues automatically. Intuition is the feeling-based awareness that arises from this background activity. a quiet knowing that something remains incomplete. When a connection ends without emotional clarity, the conscious mind may accept the ending, but the deeper layers do not. They continue to scan for meaning, closure, or understanding. This scanning produces sensations that feel like intuition. A sudden thought of someone, a feeling that they are thinking about you, or a sense that something is shifting internally or externally does not come from nowhere. It comes from the psyche, recognizing familiar emotional patterns and responding before logic steps in. Unfinished emotional business creates a kind of inner tension. The mind seeks coherence. It wants experiences to make sense and emotions to have a place. When something meaningful is interrupted, especially without expression or resolution, the psyche stays alert. Intuition is that alertness. It is the mind saying there is still emotional material that has not been integrated. This is why intuition often grows stronger during periods of silence or distance. With fewer external distractions, internal signals become clearer. People often doubt their intuition because it does not arrive with evidence. But intuition does not operate on proof. It operates on recognition. The psyche recognizes emotional familiarity, unresolved attachment, and patterns that once carried significance. It remembers how someone felt, how the connection altered internal states, and how it left things unfinished. That recognition creates a felt sense, not a logical argument. This is also why intuition is rarely calm when something is unresolved. It carries urgency, restlessness, or emotional charge. If everything were complete, intuition would be quiet. It would not need to signal anything. The feeling of something being off, not done, or still there is the psyche's way of keeping attention on what has not been emotionally digested. The mind does not let go until it understands what it is letting go of. Intuition can also be activated by growth. When someone begins to heal, detach, or reclaim their energy, the internal balance shifts. That shift is felt not only within the self, but also in the dynamic of the connection. The psyche senses this movement. Intuition becomes sharper because something is changing. What was stagnant is no longer still. This does not mean action will follow immediately, but awareness has been triggered. It is important to understand that intuition does not demand behavior. It does not mean you must reach out, wait, or act. It is information, not instruction. It simply reflects the state of the inner world. When intuition is acknowledged without obsession, it often softens. When it is ignored or feared, it tends to intensify. The psyche wants recognition, not panic. Many people confuse intuition with hope or imagination, but intuition feels different. It is quieter, steadier, and less dramatic. It does not beg or plead. It observes. It signals. It arises even when the conscious mind is trying to move on. That persistence is not accidental. It is the psyche continuing to point towards something emotionally unresolved, something that has not yet been fully understood, released, or integrated into the larger story of the self. Distance often intensifies awareness rather than erasing it because separation removes distraction. When two people are close, interaction fills the space where reflection might otherwise occur. Presence allows emotion to flow outward through conversation, routine, and shared moments. Distance takes that outlet away. What cannot be expressed externally is redirected inward, where it becomes more noticeable, more vivid, and harder to ignore. The mind no longer has immediate access to the person, so it turns toward memory, imagination, and emotional residue. Awareness grows in distance because the psyche begins to notice what was taken for granted. While connection is active, it feels normal. It blends into daily life. When it is removed, the absence creates contrast. The inner world starts comparing before and after. Emotional responses sharpen. Small details that once passed unnoticed gain meaning. Tone of voice, shared silence, or emotional safety become clearer only once they are no longer available. Distance acts like a psychological magnifier. The unconscious also uses distance as a space for evaluation. Without constant interaction, the mind replays experiences to extract meaning. It asks questions that were avoided in closeness. Why did this matter so much? What changed in me? What did this connection awaken that was dormant before? These questions do not always form consciously, but they shape emotional awareness. The person may feel more certain about what they felt after separation than they ever did while present. Distance strips away illusion. In proximity, emotions can be confused with habit, attraction, or convenience. In absence, what remains is what was real. If awareness intensifies, it is because something authentic was there. The psyche does not fixate on what was shallow. It fixates on what altered its internal structure. That is why distance clarifies rather than dissolves deep bonds. Another reason awareness grows is resistance. When someone decides to pull away, the conscious mind often insists on control. It tells itself the separation was necessary, logical, or protective. But the unconscious does not follow decisions made out of fear. It continues to respond emotionally. That inner contradiction heightens awareness. The person becomes more aware of their feelings precisely because they are trying not to feel them. What is resisted becomes prominent. Distance also disrupts emotional regulation. When two people are connected, their nervous systems often regulate each other. Presence calms, familiarity grounds. Separation removes that regulation, leaving emotions less contained. Feelings surface more easily. Longing, irritation, nostalgia, or sadness may appear suddenly. This is not regression. It is the nervous system adjusting to a missing emotional reference point. Time spent apart can also awaken self-reflection. Without the other person as a mirror, the individual begins to see themselves more clearly. How they changed, what they felt safe expressing, what parts of themselves emerged in that connection. Awareness deepens because the psyche is integrating the experience into identity. This integration cannot happen while everything is still unfolding. It happens in pause. Distance does not automatically create attachment, but it reveals existing attachment. If awareness intensifies, it is because the connection left a mark. Silence and space give that mark room to speak. The psyche notices patterns, emotions, and needs that were always there but overshadowed by presence. What feels louder in distance was not created by separation. It was uncovered by it. What feels urgent is usually what has been avoided for too long, because avoidance does not neutralize emotional truth. It delays it. When something meaningful is repeatedly pushed aside, ignored, or silenced, it does not fade into irrelevance. Instead, it gathers intensity beneath the surface. The psyche keeps track of unfinished emotional material, and over time that material begins to press for recognition. Urgency is not sudden. It is accumulated pressure finally reaching awareness. People avoid emotions for many reasons. Fear of rejection, fear of loss of control, fear of vulnerability, or fear of changing a carefully constructed identity all play a role. Avoidance feels safer in the short term. It allows daily life to continue without disruption, but internally, the avoided feeling remains active. Each moment of suppression reinforces the tension between what is felt and what is allowed to be acknowledged. That tension slowly becomes uncomfortable, then distracting, then impossible to ignore. Urgency arises when the unconscious decides that silence is no longer sustainable. This can happen after a long period of emotional stagnation or during moments of transition, such as growth, stress, or personal change. When the psyche is already in motion, it becomes harder to keep old emotional material buried. Thoughts resurface with intensity. Feelings appear unexpectedly. Memories carry more emotional weight than before. What was once manageable becomes insistent. This urgency often feels confusing because it does not align with logic. The conscious mind may say the situation is over, irrelevant, or no longer practical, yet the emotional reaction suggests otherwise. This conflict creates discomfort. The psyche is not trying to contradict reason. It is pointing out that something important was never integrated. Avoided emotions do not vanish. They wait for the right moment to return, usually when the person is strong enough to face them. Another reason urgency increases is emotional maturity. As people grow, they gain greater capacity for self-awareness. What was once too threatening to confront may now feel accessible. The psyche senses this readiness and brings unfinished material forward. The urgency is not punishment. It is opportunity. It signals that resolution is now possible, even if uncomfortable. Avoidance also distorts perception. When emotions are not addressed, they influence decisions indirectly. A person may make choices that do not fully align with their values, feel dissatisfied without knowing why, or experience repeated patterns in relationships. Over time, the cost of avoidance becomes clear. Urgency arises because the psyche wants alignment. It wants inner experience and outer life to match. Urgency does not always demand external action. Sometimes it demands internal honesty. Recognition alone can release significant tension. Naming what was avoided, even privately, begins the process of integration. The psyche responds to truth more than action. It wants awareness, not drama. Understanding urgency in this way changes how it is experienced. Instead of panic, it can be met with curiosity. Instead of pressure, it can be seen as guidance. What feels urgent is not there to overwhelm. It is there because it has waited long enough. It carries information about what mattered, what was suppressed, and what now asks to be consciously acknowledged, so it no longer has to shout from beneath the surface. And this is where everything settles into clarity. Not the kind that demands immediate action, but the kind that brings understanding. What you have been sensing is not confusion, and it is not false hope. It is the natural response of the psyche to something that mattered deeply and was never given full expression. When meaning is left unfinished, it does not disappear into the past. It stays active, shaping awareness, influencing emotion, and quietly asking to be acknowledged. The urgency you feel is not meant to rush you. It is meant to awaken you, to remind you that your inner experiences are valid, even when they do not align with external evidence. Silence, distance, and time do not negate emotional truth. They often reveal it. What has surfaced now is surfacing because you are ready to see it without fear, without distortion, and without losing yourself in it. This understanding returns power to you. When you recognize that unresolved connections live within the psyche, not outside of you, you stop searching for answers in other people's behavior. You stop interpreting silence as rejection or absence as finality. Instead, you begin to trust your own awareness. You learn to sit with what arises without needing to control it or escape it. And from this place, something shifts naturally. What is acknowledged no longer needs to press for attention. What is understood no longer needs to repeat itself. Whether the connection finds expression in the outer world or remains an inner integration, it no longer holds you in tension. It becomes part of your story, not a disruption of it. This is not an ending in the traditional sense. It is resolution, a quiet alignment between what you feel and what you know. And in that alignment, urgency transforms into calm, Clarity replaces uncertainty, and you move forward grounded in self-trust, no longer waiting for a message to arrive because you have already received the one that mattered most.